Hello everyone and welcome back to what makes this game awesome. For a really long time now, I've been wanting to talk about my favourite game of all time, Ori and the Blind Forest, but I always thought it was a little too long for one video. Now, it is definitely too long for me to cover everything, but I've tried my best to fit the entire game into one decently sized video. So hopefully I've done it justice, but today I'm going to be talking about Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition, and what makes this game awesome. Let's go all the way back to the Steam Summer Sale of 2015, just before I started YouTube. I wanted a new game to play, and I wanted it now, and the cool art of Ori and the Blind Forest just drew me in. Normally, I'm one to do a lot of research on a game before I buy it, but for some reason, I really felt like playing a game that day, so I just bought it for no reason, and decided to play through the whole thing in just a couple of days. Over those couple of days, Ori and the Blind Forest went from a game that I'd never heard of to my all-time favourite game. And just a few months later, they released a brand new updated version with slightly better graphics, slightly different gameplay, and just a couple of fixes overall. I truly believe that Ori and the Blind Forest is a game that everyone needs to play. Yeah, seriously, not even sponsored. So in this video, I'm gonna try and do this masterpiece of a game justice. As soon as you press play, you're instantly thrust into the world, with the story being told to you by this voice of a tree spirit thingy. It'll kinda make sense, just give it time. The story quickly gets you into the gameplay as Naru, this guy, having you find Ori, who was thrown from the leaves of the spirit tree, and quickly throwing you into how they became friends. Their story's shown quite fast, but in my opinion, it's not rushed, and I still got really attached to these characters in a very short amount of time, which is pretty rare and quite amazing. They're shown to be great friends, going through multiple hardships together, but the spirit tree wants Ori, who is his son, back. And when Naru tries to protect Ori, the happy story is shattered as their food runs short, and Naru ends up sacrificing himself to save Ori. Huh, what a dumb plot, right? Yeah. The game gets pretty sad pretty damn quickly. It shifts from this beautiful, bright scene to a desperate struggle for life. Seriously, I can't be the only person who felt sorry for the little guy. I mean, come on, his dad's a tree and his best friend just died. It's here that we're resurrected by the spirit tree, using the last of its power, transforming the forest into a beautiful, but also pretty horrible mess of vines, slime, blobs, and tainted creature things. I really need to write these scripts better. After we get control of Ori, we learn about the mechanics of the game. It's covered quickly. Basically, there aren't many save points in the game, but you can create your own using this power meter down here, and this lets you return to that point upon death. This is an incredibly useful mechanic, by the way, because this game gets very, very tough later on, so you'll be needing a lot of these. With the amazing level design that lets you explore, but make sure that you end up at a certain place eventually, we're led to a spirit tree, where we're shown how Ori gets his powers. This tree contains the spirit Sign, who grants you the power to climb up walls. Sign is a forest spirit that's basically the Navi of this game, but without the annoying hey! And who actually fights for you. The game teaches us about Kuro, the evil owl that stole the forest's light, and our quest to restore the light of Nibel begins here. To restore the light, Sign explains to us that we need to return light to the elements in 3 temples around the world, and you need the key to get into each temple. From here, the game lets you explore the massive, beautiful, and almost alive feeling world, giving you a playful, perfectly fitting, and beautiful soundtrack in the background at all times, but still maintaining a solid goal, allowing and rewarding exploration with power-ups, but still pushing you towards a goal. If you're one of the people, like me, who plays all these games with YouTube in the background, stop. Just listen. Now, I just want to quickly mention that I won't be able to cover the entire story in this video, because there's quite a lot to cover, so I'm just going to sum up basically what happens, and if you want to find out the entire thing, I'd really recommend playing it for yourself, because I'm skipping over some big chunks of the game. You're led to the forest on your way to give light to the element of water when you see this spider thing called Gumo running away with the key to the entrance of the temple. Naturally, you chase after him and end up getting massively sidetracked, learning loads about the mechanics, timing, and environments in the game. As you go through the game, everything that you collect makes Ori so much better at platforming, evolving his ability to travel in so many ways. But straight from the start, the game lets you travel so fluently, the jumping and movement and climbing just feeling fun, I guess. It's just beautiful and flowing to watch, even with the basic platforming mechanics that you start off with. You eventually manage to track down Gumo, who gives up and leaves you the key, letting you get into the water temple. Now, you remember the temples in Zelda? They're cool, but they're not always the best, and there's almost always a specific order that you have to do things in order to complete it. Ori takes a different approach and lets you travel around the temple, making it feel less like the area where the boss is, and more like a real environment that actually exists naturally and wasn't just made to force you in a direction, because nature would allow a little more leeway. It's actually really fun to take on temples like this, and since all the temples in the game are like this, it makes for some really unique environments. In fact, in the whole game, there is a lot of exploration that you just have to do, and it rewards you in such a clever way. You never gain health or magic naturally, but by exploring, backtracking, and using your abilities further than you have to see the game's hidden areas. The game is made easier by giving you more health, magic, and XP as a reward. The temple is full of puzzles and tough platforming sections, like all the temples in this game and what you'd really come to expect from temples, and it would take way too long to explain everything that you have to do to pass this temple. But either way, as a fan of Zelda, Hyper Light Drifter, and other action puzzle games, I can say that this is a great and incredibly well-designed dungeon, and game overall. Upon completing the dungeon, you'd expect some kind of boss, but you'd be wrong. Now, you might have noticed that a lot of games actually throw away the core mechanics that they've spent most of the game building, just to give you a difficult boss, which normally will end up boiling down to a bullet sponge enemy which takes a long time to kill, but isn't necessarily difficult. It's pretty obvious that the creators of Ori realized that this wasn't a good idea for their game, because the combat by itself is not that good. After all you're doing is spamming X. It's great for when you're moving, but if you're just against one massive enemy, it would be pretty shit, to be honest. Instead, the game sets an incredibly hard platforming section with no respawns, testing your mastery of the best mechanic of the game, the fluid movement and leaping from wall to wall under intense pressure. Everything about this is perfect. The music gets you super tensed up, the visuals are beautiful, keeping every jump looking fluid even at this super speed, and the game truly pushes you to your limits without dropping any of the mechanics that are so much fun to pull off. Seriously, this is really, really hard, but it's a clever way to check that you're at a high enough skill level to pass the next area, and give a fun and challenging end to the dungeon at the same time. Look how much I've learned to use these mechanics by the end of the run. Every jump is perfect, and just preparing me to react in the future to similar situations in the game. The whole level is incredibly well designed, meaning you could, in theory, complete it first try. But if you're like me and it took 500 times, that's fine too. The level's still well made, allowing you to be intuitive about never before seen areas. When you eventually complete the section, the tension is instantly relieved, and the massive payoff for what you just accomplished will probably sink in, knowing that you grew to face the challenge that the game set to truly test your limits. Whew, okay, that took a while, and we've still got 2 dungeons and 3 areas left. The other dungeons and areas are different and varied, and I'd love to spend just as much time talking about them, but I don't want this video to end up being hours and hours long, so I'm just gonna quickly cover them, not nearly in as much detail as this. Also, I'm not mentioning this exactly when it happens, but throughout the game you get given loads of new abilities which completely change up the way that the game controls. The first couple start off fairly average, like being able to climb up walls and wall jump and double jump, but then you get ones that let you blast off enemy projectiles and float around, super jump, and it really changes how you can get around. It means that the game can put more pressure on you, but it also means that there's much more ways to travel around and just explore. In fact, throughout the video, you're gonna see me going from being kinda newbie at using these to going to practically second nature. After finishing the water temple, you're led to a bridge where the owl, Kuro, forces you into a standoff, making you backtrack and take alternate routes to cause him to drop a feather. This is one of the other mechanics in the game, the ability to float, like that Deku Leaf in Wind Waker. The cool thing about these abilities is that they aren't like items you get in other games, where you only use them once in one specific temple and then you never have to use them again. These mechanics are used in every dungeon, area, and room in the entire game, and every single one of these is incredibly well designed, meaning whatever room you go into, even if it's one you've already been in, using the new abilities, it'll be easier and faster to get through the room, and make you feel like you're progressing through the game. Anyway, you learn about how Kuro stole the tree's light to protect her baby owls, and I mean, can you blame her? I mean, they're so cute. Then you have to traverse the Misty Woods, my personal least favourite part of the game, because of a lack of magic refills, so you can't really save that regularly, but still, a very well designed part of the game. It's kind of like an escort mission, but you don't have to worry about them getting killed. You have to carry a stone back to this gate, allowing you to see past the illusion and enter the next temple. The Misty Woods is kind of annoying for me because there's a lot of backtracking through areas that you should know but don't, and for me a lot of frustrating deaths, but that's just my opinion. The next temple is icy and introduces the mechanic of gravity walls and carrying this Gumon sphere through it so you can stand on specific surfaces, but limiting your movement in unique ways. It's revealed in this temple that Gumo, this guy, is the only surviving Gumon left, and he overhears Sign telling you this. This causes him to run away, and it's totally not important later in the game. Okay, it is, so remember that he did that. You're then led to a windy spiked area to collect the Sun Key that grants you access to the Fire Temple, and it's here that the game really starts to get difficult. Like, really difficult. I have hours of footage of me failing at various areas past this point, and I have to say, it really makes it rewarding when you're able to utilize the amazing mechanics and almost fly effortlessly around the place. After collecting the Sun Key, you can walk or fast travel back to the Fire Temple, which is the last temple in the game. Traversing the temple still introduces new mechanics, even this late into the game. To put it into context, at this point I was about 7 hours in, and still introducing new stuff is a rare sight, and that's something that makes this such a great game. It doesn't feel like people design these levels, in a good way. They're so well designed, they just feel natural, and the introduction of new mechanics so late in the game just adds to that feeling of natural unpredictability. Now when you complete the Fire Temple, your user rewarding break is cut short as Kuro smashes into you and you're forced to run from him. This ends up leading you to the final and by far the most difficult platforming test. It makes you use every single ability that you've learnt to complete it, showing how much you've grown throughout your journey and how much better you've gotten at the game. Now this stage, it's very, very hard. After completing the stage, you realize how close you are to completing your quest. You restored light to all the elements, and now all you have to do is return to the spirit tree. Just as you're flying off to complete your quest, Kuro grabs you out of the air, smashing you to the ground. The whole time you were gone, he was busy looking for Naru, leading him to you so you two could be reunited. Through your whole journey they've been following, and Naru only finds you again when you are barely clinging to life, about to be killed by Kuro. Kuro realizes that Naru is one of the babies he fought so hard to protect, and that her only remaining egg is about to get destroyed by the fire that she started. Realizing her error, she flies Sign, the light of Nibel, back to the tree, sacrificing herself to save her children and the forest. And that's Ori and the Blind Forest. Jesus, that took a while. I would love to spend more time on this game, but honestly, it's not a new game, and if I did spend more time on it, I'd just be analysing every single dungeon, which wouldn't be any fun to watch. To be honest, it's really an experience that you have to play yourself to understand. But even if you're not gonna play this game based on what I've said in this video, I'm still incredibly happy that I can say that Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition is an amazing game. The beautiful graphics, stunning soundtrack, amazing character design, and just perfect gameplay all combined together to make what I would consider the best game to have come out in the past 5 years. I know it's kind of biased based on what I just said, but honestly, I would give Ori and the Blind Forest a 10 out of 10 happily. I just can't seem to fault this game anywhere. Now I know that that's quite a leap, so if you think something different, make sure to let me know in the comments. I want to hear what all you guys say, and I get that rating a game 10 out of 10 is quite a stretch. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see all the new stuff that I upload, like the video if you enjoyed it, and check me out on my social stuff. The link should be up on screen right now. I'm always trying to make new content for you guys, so hopefully not too long in the future, I'll see you guys in my next review. So, see you then.